Hey everybody, and welcome to another craft tutorial. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays with the occasional live bonus video. Today I'm going to show you guys how to do two super easy and really inexpensive Dollar Tree crafts. I love getting lots of my craft supplies from the Dollar Tree because it's inexpensive and you don't feel like you're wasting a lot of money to make something that is still beautiful. So we're going to show you how to do the candle holder with just some really fun leaves. This is a really easy project, great for kids. And then we're going to also show you guys how to do this really cute ribbon wreath. These are really fun to do, and you can do these for all the different holidays, but I did fall since that's what's available right now at my Dollar Tree. This entire craft cost about $6, and then this one was only $2, and you can actually make more than one with all the leaves that I got. So let's get started. We've got our leaves, and this is a 50 pack of just some leaves from the Dollar Tree. Bunches of different colors. You got some reds, some orange and yellows, all yellows, a little orange, green, bright yellows. We've got some that have some nice veins on them. So there's a lot of pretty colors and lots of options. Let me wipe some of this off. And then all we have is just this little vase or candle holder from the Dollar Tree. And this one has kind of a amber color to it, but it really doesn't matter because you won't see this. All you're going to need to do is get a hot melt glue gun and some of your leaves and your vase. Now you can do this in any way that you'd like, but there's no wrong way to design your leaf candle holder. These are really pretty for centerpieces, for your Thanksgiving table, or even use them as little placeholders, because then your guests could maybe take them home, and you can do them really inexpensive, which I like. So we're gonna go ahead and just get started, and it's really simple. You just take a little bit of glue, put it on your leaf, and this doesn't take a lot. I literally just use a tiny dab, and then you just place your leaf wherever you want to on your vase or cup or glass or whatever you would like to use. And you want to make sure that you do only use battery operated candles in these because you don't want to accidentally catch your leaf on fire. And we're going to go ahead and tack some of these down once we've kind of laid out our leaves. And you don't have to lay them out in an exact pattern. You can do whatever you want. This is why I love this craft, and it's super easy. And this would actually be a very fun craft if you had kids over for Thanksgiving and wanted to give them something to do, because you can see, look how easy this is. It's so fun, and it's really going to be very pretty once we're done. But like I said, we'll tack down some of these so that they don't stick out kind of all willy-nilly everywhere. But you'll want to just make sure you don't burn your fingers with the hot melt glue gun. And you could probably use, honestly, I would think that hot melt glue is going to be your best bet, but you may be able to use something like a tacky glue if you've got children, or at least maybe have an adult to help them with their gluing of their leaves. And that way you can all have a fun time and share in a really fun craft that they can take home with them. I just think this is a really fun idea, and a lot of kids love to do crafts, so it'll keep them busy out of your hair while you're cooking. And this would be great for, you know, school projects, things like that. And don't worry if you get a little bit of glue, because we'll cover all that up. Like my little leaf slid a little bit, and I apologize that my dog is barking, but she is just apparently having a time of her life out there barking at stuff. Okay, I'm apparently going to roll. So now you can just start laying your leaves however you want. There's no, like I said, no right or wrong to these kinds of crafts, which is partially why I really like them. I don't think you can ever be wrong with how you want to lay out anything that you are doing. And all that matters is that you like it and that you are having fun, because crafts are all about fun and creativity and being yourself. And I think a lot of people seem to forget that sometimes. And I just like to remind you guys that there's 100,000 different ways that people craft, and there's no wrong way. So if you like something and you like the way you do something, that doesn't make you wrong. It just makes you unique and who you want to be. And you're going to do what you want to do and how you want to do it and what works for you. There are no wrong ways to craft. Like I said, I truly enjoy it. I think it's fun. I may not do the same thing you do, or, you know, that you learned how to do, and that's okay. You can do it however you want. Like if you don't like these green leaves, you don't have to use them. I just think they kind of break up some of the reds and some of the yellows. But if you don't want to use them, that's okay. And I love that you get so many pieces in these Dollar Tree containers, because you're not going to need all 50 pieces to do one jar. You can probably do 2 or 3 jars with just one package of the leaves. So that's really, really nice, because you can get several of these little jars done, and your family can, like I said, take them home, give them as gifts. I just think these are a lot of fun, and like I said, you can do so many with just one simple thing. So if you just buy everybody a jar and then a couple packages of leaves, and you can just lay everything down on the table and let everybody go to town and have a good time, it would be a really fun craft to do with your family, and you'd have a really pretty table when you're done. These would also be very pretty for weddings, things like that. Even like company, if you do like maybe Friendsgiving, this would be a lot of fun for a Friendsgiving event where you and your friends could sit down before dinner, chit chat, make a fun craft. Everybody could take one home, and you can easily provide them with the battery powered candle as well, because you can get those pretty darn cheap on Amazon. So I really like a good inexpensive craft. And I think they're just a lot of fun and easy to do. And you don't have to be a crafter to make something like this. And I actually don't know if I'm going to tack these down, because I kind of like it. So this is what I have come up with, and I just think it's really fun. I'm going to give you guys a good side view of it too as well, but I just think this is a lot of fun. Again, really easy. You see, it took very little time at all, and if you want, you can absolutely go through, and if you want to lay your leaf down, you don't like the way it's sticking out here, sticking out there, just take a little bit of glue and tack it down. Super easy, very fun to do. And you can add leaves if you want, like say, because mine are kind of done in like a spiral pattern, but let's say I kind of want to throw some more leaves in here to cover up some more spaces. You can totally do that. You don't have to just tack it down once. You can add more leaves to fill in maybe some of your small holes here. Let's see, let's do this leaf over here, because no matter what you do, as long as you like it, I just love this craft. I think this one is one of my favorites that I have done as far as like simple, easy crafts to do that you can do with your kids and your family. And like I said, you just put a pretty candle inside. Again, battery powered, because you don't want it to catch any of these and get them, you know, burn them, because you could create a fire. So don't do that, but you can absolutely make these, and they're really fun. And look, they look pretty from up top. They look really pretty from the side. So we're going to start by putting the ribbon on, which is super easy. This is wired ribbon, which is nice. And we're just going to use hot melt glue gun to put the ribbon on our foam. I actually like to unroll my ribbon off the roll before I actually start putting it on. I just find it a little bit easier. You may not, but it's personal preference. And I will usually just start with whatever side I find first. And all I'm going to do is, there's a little seam on here, and I usually start there. Again, not really any rhyme or reason to why I start there. It's just I do. And I'm just going to put a little line of hot melt glue, and I'm going to let that dry for just a second, because otherwise it's going to be super duper hot. And I just put my ribbon right on that line and press it down a little bit. So I just hold it there, because you want to make sure that it dries a bit before you start pulling on your ribbon. If you don't, it'll slide, and that can be kind of a pain. Like, it'll slide around a little bit right now because the glue is still hot and still wet. So you're going to notice that you can see, and I don't know how well you guys can see that, but you can actually see through this ribbon. So you're going to want to try to make sure you keep any glue you use to the back of your wreath, because we're not going to cover the whole thing with flowers. We're only going to cover a little bit of it. So you'll just want to make sure that you're aware of that. And I'm just trying to try to make sure this is dry and get some of these little chunks off and see if we can start working with it. Yep, we're good. So now what we do is, so like I said, I like to take all mine off the roll. This is just personal preference. So I'm just going to take my ribbon and pull it through my wreath, just like so, and then you're just gonna roll around your wreath. Now, being that this is a little bit fatter and this is kind of a smaller wreath, you may have some wrinkling or some kind of tucking tugging of your ribbon. If that bothers you, use a smaller ribbon, but you can also sort of help it along as you go by just flattening it as you go each way around. So it's just personal preference. I don't really mind the tugging and pulling of it. And the other thing you want to make sure that you are paying attention to is how far you're putting your ribbons from each other, because you want them to be fairly even. You don't need to have too much of like an overlap. It just depends on how you want it. You could overlap them closer, you could overlap them further apart, but if you're doing that, you want to make sure you try to keep them at a fairly even overlap so that everything looks pretty uniform. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody is going to really notice. If you use a smaller ribbon, like a thinner, you may need a little bit more than if you're using this super wide ribbon. And as you can see, I'm kind of tugging it like this, pulling each of the sides apart. That just helps flatten it out. And this is why I like to pull it off of the roll. I think it just is a little bit easier to kind of do that with, where you can pull it apart. And then it's also a little bit easier for me, instead of using the whole roll, just to kind of grab the ribbon in a bunch and pull it through. And I just think, for me, it's just a little bit easier. And again, this does not take a ton of like craft skill. So let's be honest, this would be a great craft if you are not a crafty person, or if you are gonna maybe do some crafts with some kids. Kids could absolutely do this craft. You're gonna want to help them with the glue part of it, but they could absolutely wrap the ribbon, and they can choose their own ribbon, their own flowers. These would make a great gift for mom, grandma, you know, the neighbor lady that maybe watches them, and they can actually make the gift for them, which I think is a lot of fun. And again, this is super inexpensive. The ribbon was $1 from the Dollar Tree. The wreath blank, which is this foamy wreath outside, was $1 also from the Dollar Tree, but you can get them usually at Michael's or Joann's as well for pretty inexpensive. So if you can't find one at your Dollar Tree because they don't all carry the same stuff, you may be able to go to your local craft store and get one. So you can absolutely do that. And then the flower bunches that we got are going to be also from the Dollar Tree. And you really don't need a ton of them, which is really nice. So as you can see, I'm just going around, and again, I'm just tugging the ribbon a little bit. And there are some wrinkles and things, but I'm really not worried about it because this pattern really doesn't show them too bad, which is sort of nice. But yeah, you can do all sorts of different holidays. You can do any kind of ribbon that you want. I do find the wire-ended ribbon, the wire-edged ribbon, just a little bit easier to work with. Now we're almost to our end. So what we're gonna do is just make sure that we have, because this is where we're actually gonna put our flowers, is right here, just to kind of cover up any of the weird seaming we may end up with. So what I'm gonna do is just wrap one more time and a second time. And I'm doing that just to give me a nice base to put my ribbon together on. So what I'm going to do now, so this is the back of our wreath, I believe, if we want to make it that. You can absolutely kind of look at your wreath and just see which side you maybe like better. And keep in mind, you're not going to see this part because this is where we're going to put our flowers. So it doesn't really matter. It's all just personal preference. I actually think I kind of like the pattern on this side best. So I'm going to take my hot melt glue, and before I even cut my ribbon, just so I don't burn myself, which is why I do it this way, I'm going to go ahead and wrap my ribbon, and I'm just going to pull it nice and tight. It's going to give all that glue in there, and we're going to let that sit for a minute. You can see the glue kind of goes through the ribbon. This is the other reason we're going to make sure that we cover this part up. And that's why I don't use glue anywhere else on my wreath, because it goes through this ribbon. If you're using like a burlap or a thicker ribbon, maybe something a little on the pricier side, you may not have that issue, but because I am using some Dollar Tree ribbon, it's not exactly the thickest, best quality ribbon on the planet, but it is really nice. And honestly, I don't think it's you know, anything out of, you know, it's gonna look real cheap. So we're just gonna trim it off right above the hot melt glue line. And I do have a silicone mat, and I'm gonna put down, I got this from the Dollar Tree, and actually I clearly haven't used this one yet, so I'm gonna trim off the tag. So I'm just gonna set this down on the silicone mat, just so that glue, if it dries on there, it won't matter, it'll come right off. And in the meantime, we've got flowers. So let me put this to the side, and we're gonna pull apart our flowers. So we got some flowers and we got some leaves. And depending on what kind of flowers you've got, some of them you can pop them off just by popping off the head, and some of them you will have to actually trim off. So I think most of these flowers, we can just pop the heads off of them, but the leaves we're gonna have to trim off. And I usually just pop off them all because I don't ever keep them on the stem, especially once I've taken a couple off and used them. I think they look weird then. So we're just gonna pull all of our flowers off of our stems. And again, super cheap. I got, each one of these bunches was only $1. You get several flower heads on them, which is nice, and they don't really look like, they don't look super cheap, which is nice too. They're not obviously going to be your high quality, expensive silk flowers or real flowers or anything like that. Now, so like I said, with these leaves, we're going to have to trim them off, but I kind of want a little stem on them. And I don't know if we're even going to really end up using too many of the leaves, but I just thought they were pretty. And there's some really pretty sparkly ones. So I just thought those might add a little extra something to the design because we do have that glitter around the edge. So let's go ahead and trim off all these leaves because again, we can reuse these leaves for something else if we don't use all of them. And then same with the other flowers, we can absolutely reuse them. And this, again, is such an easy craft. You could do these with your kids. This would be a really fun one to do if you're going to do like a craft night with your family, or if you teach craft night classes at the local libraries or at the senior centers. These are so inexpensive. You could charge, if you needed to, maybe like a $5 fee. And each person that comes would get ribbon and a wreath blank. And obviously you only needed one roll of ribbon to do this one. So you could just get some ribbon and a wreath blank and then lay out all your flowers and your whatever you are going to put on it, maybe some bows, and just let the people who are going to decorate them choose what they want. And then you could easily make a little bit of cash perhaps, or at least let the folks who are decorating them have a really pretty wreath to take home. So now what you're just going to do is just lay out your flowers however you want. If you need to, you can trim off some of the green, but be careful. If you trim too far, you may have your flower fall apart. But you can absolutely trim off a little green. I'm going to trim off just a bit off of these because they're a little bit too long and it makes it really hard to glue them onto your wreath. So I know for sure I'm going to use this guy because I really like this sunflower, and I just kind of like him in the center. So we're just going to glue him right down, and you just press and he'll stay pretty good, but you can hold him there if you need to. And then I love these purple Gerber daisies, which are my favorite flower. So I just thought these would be super pretty just to kind of tuck in there, and you can kind of mess with the flower a little bit, tuck it under, tuck it wherever you need to get it to fit on your wreath or however you want to put it. And we can use those leaves as some filler space on these, which is nice. So I'm going to press this guy down. I don't know if I trimmed him quite far enough down, but I think we'll be okay. And the other good thing is because this is foam, when you press down a little bit, you can get some of the edges to kind of go in there. And see, like this leaf, I think he's cool. I really like him, and I think what I'm going to do is tuck him somewhere in here and see if I can figure out a way to make him kind of look like he belongs. And you may need to kind of mess around. You might need to put them in a different way, or, you know, push them somewhere else in your flowers, maybe something like this. But this is where you can kind of be very creative, figure out just what you want in your flowers and how you want your design to look. And no two are the same, and you're never going to be wrong with the way you lay yours out because it's your design and nobody else's. And that's what I like about crafting. There is no right or wrong answers. There's no right or wrong way to craft. And there are really, truly no ugly crafts, because if you like it, that's all that matters. Nobody else's opinion should matter about your crafts. Because while it may not be their cup of tea, you like it and I like it, and I don't care what other people think. Sometimes I feel like we really are our worst critics, and so I try to make sure that you guys understand, like, I think that no matter what, if you're happy and you like your design, don't believe those internet trolls, don't believe Susie Sally So down by the, the store who says your craft is ugly, because it's not. It just might not be Miss Sally Sue's cup of tea. And that is perfectly okay. Now, we're just going to use this little glittery guy, and I might actually double him up because he doesn't show up really well, but I just really love him and I really want to use him. So we have a second one. So what I may do is just put the second one with him just so we can have a little bit of a more shimmery look. I really liked these guys. I found them and I just had to have them, and now I really want to use them on here. So we're going to do that and try not to burn our fingers, which is what I just did. So we're going to make sure that we refluff our red guy because he got a little unfluffy. He got kind of stuck to everybody. And honestly, I think I am done. And look at how many flowers I still have left and leaves. So this is great because you can reuse these somewhere else. But look at how pretty the wreath came out. Let me move these over so you guys can see this. And you can add a bow. I am not a bow maker. Like, that is not a skill that Corinne possesses, okay? Someday I would love to learn how to make bows, but that is just not something I'm good at. I have accepted it. I have moved on. Let's be honest, I haven't accepted it. If somebody has a great bow tutorial, please let me know. I would love to learn how to make bows. I'm just not very good at it. But this is our finished wreath, and I think it was really easy, really fun, and super inexpensive. So you're looking at $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, and $6. So this is a wreath for $6. I think this was a really good deal, a lot of fun to make, and you can see it didn't take very long at all to make this. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer them for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays with the occasional live bonus video. Hit that bell icon because that will let you know when I post a new video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and happy crafting.